When Jaime opened his eyes, he found himself staring at the stump of his sword hand, the hand that made me Kingslayer. The goat had robbed him of his glory and his shame both at once. Leaving what? Who am I now? The internal conflict of Jaime Lannister is exactly what A Song of Ice and Fire is about. Not dragons or the power they hold, or the others in the far north and the unavoidable doom that will lead to the end of all who inhabit this world, but instead a singular man, and the human heart in conflict with itself. A big thing that people do not understand about Jaime is that his story is not simply a redemption arc, to where he goes from bad guy to good, but it is also a story of trying, and a story of guilt. Before we ever got to be inside his head in A Storm of Swords, he had this guilt. 17 years before the events of A Game of Thrones, in 281 AC, Jaime Lannister was appointed to the Kingsguard and served Aerys II Targaryen for 2 years until the sack of King's Landing when he killed that same king. Jaime did not know the actual reason he was appointed to the Kingsguard was because King Aerys wanted to spite Jaime's father, Tywin Lannister, and to hold Jaime as a captive if Tywin were ever to try anything against the king. From this decision made by King Aerys, Tywin resigned his hand of the king and left for Casterly Rock, taking Jaime's twin sister Cersei, who he had also had an incestuous relationship with. At this point, Jaime was alone and scared, sworn to defend a man growing more and more mad. He stood by as the Mad King burned people with wildfire. He watched Lord Eddard Stark's older brother and father burn alive while the king laughed. Jaime hid from the outside world and went deep within himself, thinking of Cersei or Casterly Rock, his home. Let them do it, and go away inside. That was what he'd done when the Starks had died before him, Lord Rickard cooking in his armor while his son Brandon strangled himself trying to save him. His pessimism towards knighthood and honor began at this time, when beside the burning bodies of lords and ladies, he watched hundreds of knights stand by and were as silent as the grave, watching as the green wildfire consumed all that it touched. The young boy who wanted to be the great Sir Arthur Dane or Sir Barristan Selmy died in those 2 years, the man that he would have become, one who loved honor outwardly and wanted all to know it. And me, the boy I was, when did he die, I wonder? When I donned the white cloak, when I opened Aerys' throat, that boy had wanted to be Sir Arthur Dane, but someplace along the way he had become the smiling knight instead. By the time Robert's rebellion was ending, Jaime was completely alone in the Red Keep with King Aerys, as all the other Kingsguard were either dead, captured, or off in an unknown location. When Tywin Lannister had reached the gates of King's Landing, the king ordered Jaime to bring him his father's head, and also gave an order to his pyromancer, who at the time was also Hand of the King, to burn down the entire city with hidden caches of wildfire. After hearing all of this, Jaime immediately slew the king's hand, and then murdered the Mad King himself. He knew that no matter what excuse he made for killing the king he was sworn to protect, Jaime felt that no one around him would really care, and the lords and ladies of the land would always see him as the man who broke his sacred oath. So he didn't explain himself when Ned Stark was the first to see Jaime above the bodies of the men he killed, and he accepted the name bestowed upon him, the Kingslayer. Even though we know that in reality George R. R. Martin, the author of this story, in his original outline had Jaime being the big bad for a majority of the story and wanted him to be mainly a one-dimensional bad guy, it's still genius how it all turned out. In the first and second book, we see Jaime as the rest of the continent of Westeros sees Jaime, the evil Kingslayer, and that's it. We see him as the one-dimensional villain he was originally supposed to be, but it changes in the third book, A Storm of Swords. After the War of the Five Kings starts, Jaime is captured by Robb Stark, the son of Ned Stark, but it is set free by Catelyn Stark, his mother, as a trade for her daughters Sansa and Arya. At this point in the story, his captor on the way to King's Landing is a woman named Brienne of Tarth. Now I want to take a moment for us to talk about Brienne. She is the only adult character in this story who is wholly good, finding honor and loyalty as the most important thing in the world. Now this is the biggest contrast to Jaime that there possibly could be, because she represents everything that Jaime wants to believe deep inside. But through everything he has seen and been through, he thinks that there is no point for these things. He cares about only 2 things now, fighting and Cersei. This is what he was meant for. He never felt so alive as when he was fighting, with death balanced on every stroke. At one point on the journey to King's Landing with Brienne, They are attacked by outlaws, and Jaime tries to escape, but then shortly after this encounter they are captured by Vargo Hoat and the Brave Companions, a sellsword company. One of the first acts of kindness we see him do for someone is when Brienne is about to be assaulted, and he lies for her, telling the Brave Companions that she comes from an island rich with sapphires, and that she will be worth a lot more with her maidenhood intact. But in turn, and at a moment's notice, Jaime has his sword hand chopped off with an eric by a Dothraki man named Zolo on the orders of Vargo himself. Once again, Jaime has a metaphorical death. And finally, he has to confront all of the pain and suffering he pushed deep inside over the years. Leaving what? Who am I now? Who is Jaime if not the fighter who does not care what others think? Who is Jaime if he is not the man his sister loves? Who is he without his shield? For the rest of the story, Jaime confronts the idea of what honor is, again, for the first time since he was a young man, watching the Mad King burn everyone around him. One of the most profound moments in the books, and the absolute best scene in the TV show, is Jaime's confession to Brienne after he has nothing left to hide behind. In the chronological order of the story, this is the first moment we, as the reader or watcher, see the truth of what Jaime went through, the pain and the suffering, learning why he killed the Mad King, learning the actual toll that pushed everything inside has done to him. Instead of disbelief or mockery, Brienne took Jaime at his word, and then asked him, "If this is true, how is it no one knows?" And Jaime responded to her, "The Knights of the Kingsguard are sworn to keep the king's secrets. Would you have me break my oath?" Jaime laughed. "Do you think the noble Lord of Winterfell wanted to hear my feeble explanations? Such an honorable man. He only had to take one look at me to judge me guilty." Jaime, even in his greatest moment, knew the world would charge him guilty, so he didn't even fight it. He even charged himself as guilty for soiling his white cloak and betraying his oaths. After his return to King's Landing, Jaime is not only a changed man entirely, but a man who is willing to change. Once he arrives in the city, he is gifted a Valyrian steel sword by his father, and is told by his uncle Kevin Lannister that his father gifted it to him out of love, but Jaime suspects that it's an actual mockery of him for not being able to fight anymore with only one hand. Immediately, he gives the sword to Brienne, asking her to name the sword Oathkeeper, and to go and find Sansa and protect her on account of the oath he made to Catelyn Stark before she died at the Red Wedding. When Joffrey Baratheon was assassinated, and after Tyrion's failed trial, by words and by combat, he is sentenced to death, but instead of dying, Tyrion escapes with the help of Jaime. Tyrion then left his brother, and unbeknownst to Jaime, he went through a secret passageway and killed their father. After this point, Jaime is sent away by Cersei, and returns to the Riverlands to end the last of Robb Stark's loyalists inside of the Castle Riverrun. Once he sieges the castle, he meets with Brynden the Blackfish Tully and tells him he will not kill any of his soldiers and they will be able to choose to go to the Night's Watch if they wish, keeping his vow that he will not harm any more Tullys of Riverrun. But he also meets with Edmure Tully, suggesting that he would catapult his soon-to-be-born child into the walls of Riverrun if he does not comply and help to end the resistance in the castle. Even though he made terrible threats, the siege did end, and he won Riverrun, without a single man being killed. Through his travels, he does kind acts, protecting a woman from being assaulted, and getting upset with Gregor Clegane for killing a boy, when he himself had attempted to kill a boy as well. At this point in Jaime's arc, it finally became an outward redemption arc. While the majority of his story has been an internal understanding that it is possible for him to become a new man, this is him finally acting on those thoughts. In the last chapter of A Feast for Crows, Jaime receives a letter from King's Landing from Cersei saying that she had been arrested by the High Sparrow, and was to have a trial by combat for her innocence. "Come at once," she said. "Help me, save me. I need you now as I have never needed you before. I love you, I love you, I love you. Come at once." Jaime had responded to this letter, but not with a written word. "Put this in the fire," he said. Through this action, he truly separates himself from the addiction that is his sister. He knows about her unfaithfulness to him, but now he cares about honor above all else, as he did before, but this time it is his true priority, and not an empty show with small things. Still important things, but in the big picture, things that don't actually change him. In this last book that was published, A Dance with Dragons, Jaime only has one chapter. He has reached Raventree Hall to stop the very last of the North's resistance to the crown. He brokers peace with the rebels and sends hostages to the capital, and not a single person killed. Through his actions, he begins to wonder what might he be called in the future if he truly becomes an honorable man. This was justice. Make a habit of it, Lannister, and one day men might call you Golden Hand after all. Golden Hand the Just. At the very end of the chapter, literally in the last paragraph, Brienne finds Jaime and tells him that she has found Sansa. A day's ride, I can take you to her, sir, but you will need to come alone, elsewise the Hound will kill her. This is a lie told to Jaime, and the last time we see either of them on the written page. But Brienne did not find Sansa, and she is not being held captive by Sandor Clegane. The Brotherhood without banners has laid a trap for Jaime, led by the resurrected corpse of Catelyn Stark, now named Lady Stoneheart. Brienne was forced to bring him to them, or she would have been hung. If there was a moment that would almost complete Jaime's arc, it would be him coming face to face with the living figure of the house his family had destroyed. But he most certainly will not die. His story ends with Cersei, and most likely will have to kill her, probably stopping her from setting King's Landing afire with wildfire, a comparison to when he stopped the Mad King all those years ago. Jaime is a man of great flaw, but is also a man who understands that he can change and be someone people can admire. His journey is that in a world he is almost always seen as wrong and evil, that he must stand up for once and declare that he will be good. All of what Jaime has gone through is a debt no Lannister can pay, but it is one that Jaime can. I want to thank each and every one of you for making it to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below as well. Thank you for watching.